Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whenever you are. Welcome to the community live stream. This is February 4th, 2020. My name is Chuck Tomasi from ServiceNow. I'm that guy with the bow tie. And I am here to bring you not only the answers in the community, but the answers behind the answers, the thought process, the journey of discovery, the reverse engineering, so that you can take those skills and bring them to your job as an administrator, developer, what have you, and be better at that. So you've got that in your toolbox. It's a bit like going from elementary or primary school into college. I expect you to learn how to learn. This is the learn how to learn part. Maybe I ought to retitle it that way. So thank you for joining me. If you're joining on YouTube, then, oops, wrong title there. Get the YouTube title back and get me out of the way. If you're joining on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe, click the like, hit the notifications so that you get the notifications when they join. People are jumping in right now. And you should also see a notification, something like, there's the Twitch notification, and I'll bet if we wait a few extra seconds, we'll see the YouTube notification come up as well on my mobile device. So youtube.com/user, there it is, right on cue. A little cropped, I'm not sure what happened there. Something up with my screen sharing app, but we'll look at that later. So there you have it. /user/ServiceNow community. Again, hit the preference so that you get the notifications to subscribe to the channel. And thank you to everybody who's already done that. And thank you to those that are joining in. Good to see you, Carolyn. Hello, hello. We've got people around the globe. Thank you very much for joining. That's why I give that universal greeting of all time zones when I start the show. Appreciate it very much. So YouTube is where you can get that. You can also find the content over at Twitch for a couple of weeks. It's always there as a backup plan. Sometimes there's weird audio sync issues or the video cuts out, but things have been pretty stable lately. So fingers crossed that the internet gods still love us. Good morning, Chandar and PS and Shane. Everybody's jumping in. Thank you for joining. If you've got a question that goes beyond just one of these hellos or part of the conversation that's going in the live chat, then please go over to the community, post your question about ServiceNow, post your issue. Be sure to include details. Screenshots are always helpful. Put it in the right category. We have communities over on the side over here on the left, or you can say browse the community forums if you don't know where to go and put that in the right place. You can see we've got lots of different buckets for the different content. If you've got a question about project management, ITBM is the place where you want to get the expert eyes on that so that you can get the answer to your question as quickly as possible. Putting your question about project management in the developer community, probably not going to work unless it's a customization that involves something to do with developers. Of course, use your best judgment. One question per post. If you are responding, thank you very much. Consider turning common answers into a blog article to help others. Get some notoriety for yourself. Maybe even get an MVP later on in the year. Don't know how that goes. So encourage you to do that. That's the community in a nutshell. Pretty much like a lot of other communities, only this one's better. Also invite you to go over to the developer page, developer.servicenow.com, where we've got all of our scripting APIs, we've got free learning plans, we've got videos and blogs and events. And I'm curious to see, does it say upgrade to Orlando yet? I think we need to refresh this page. The carousel's not moving. Get your free personal developer instance, mentioned that. Totally free. You can get it on one of the latest 3 releases, including Orlando, which just came out a few weeks ago. So if you want to play around, it still says upgrade to New York. We're going to have to fix that. Cross that out and put in the new one. Morning, Mr. Stockman. Yes, I agree. The new docs page looks awesome. I love the layout. I talked to the docs people just yesterday because I am engaged with them on another project, putting some videos into the docs pages. And if you haven't seen it already, let me just go to the main homepage, docs.servicenow.com. It's laid out. It knows what you've got to log in. You can do the preferences. It'll pop up a little thing that says, hey, would you like to log in and set your preferences? It defaults me to Orlando. So instead of getting a search and going, now, would you like to see this in Orlando, New York, Madrid, London, and going backwards? Like, no. Just stay where you are. And the release notes are right here on the cover page. So lots of cool stuff in the docs page. I know I was back on the developer portal. pontificating about that. Wonderful place. Go get yourself a pre-personal instance. I mean, a free personal instance. Go get that. And you can experiment, sandbox, wipe it out, do what you like. Not for production use. There are a few things that you won't be able to enable. Able to enable. I like that. So if you don't use it for about 10 days, it will get reclaimed. So be sure to back up all your work that goes on there. Let's check out the events. I know there's some stuff coming up. February 11th, Calgary ServiceNow Developer Meetup. I will be there. Looking forward to that very much, seeing all my friends in the frozen north. The Richmond one also on the same evening. Stockholm's coming up. Singapore in mid-February. Late February is Austin. Mid-March, Phoenix. I'll be there too. So looking forward to all of these. And I hope to see you at a developer meetup coming up soon. Like-minded people getting together to discuss what they build, how they build it, challenges they've run into on the Now platform. A lot of great discussion, a lot of learning that goes on there. We've got the Orlando stuff. If you want, we can share that and see how that goes. There are more meetups. If you haven't already done so, go over to meetup.com/pro/ServiceNow Dev Program and get you registered for a chapter near you. There are 63,000 chapters. Not 63,000, I wish. 63 chapters with 21,600 people around the globe. That's where that number was coming from. So you can see there are chapters all over the world. If there isn't one, if you happen to be in Angola and there isn't a ServiceNow developer meetup there, let us know and we can help you get one started. Please send an email or put a comment on the community you can find me. You know how, chuck.tomasi@servicenow.com. I'll get you in touch with the right people so that we can get you a chapter in your area. How's that sound? I like it. I like it a lot. Aside from the meetup, we also want to remind you, this is why these are in order, other events that are happening around the world, around the calendar, around everywhere, over at servicenow.com/events.html, including some of the on-demand webinars that we've done. So you'll get information about webinars, conferences. We'll talk about the big one coming up in a minute. Seminars and snug meetings. Snug meetings are ServiceNow user groups. If you haven't heard of those before, SNUG, ServiceNow user group. Get it? Got to make sure everybody's aware. Some people are watching these videos for the first time or brand new to ServiceNow. They go, what is that? What is a snug? It's a real friendly group of people. We'll put it to you that way. And I mean that in the most serious tone. We also, of course, have the upcoming Knowledge Conference. This is the big one. Orlando, Florida, May 3rd through 7th this year. I believe early bird price expires on February 14th. So you've got about 10 days from the time of this recording to get that $200 discount for your tickets. So take a look at that. If you want to go, great stuff. Lots of hands-on learning, lots of networking opportunities, lots of breakout sessions from customers. This is not just all ServiceNow talking to you about the latest and greatest cool features. This is mostly, I think it's 90% of the breakout session content comes from our customers. So their experiences, their voice, and you will not be bored for the 3 or 4 days there. There's pre-conference training, so go sign up for that if you need to get additional training to get involved with that. Orlando, Florida, hope to see you there. I will be there if everything goes right. And my heart is still beating and I wake up on the right side of the grass. We'll go with that. And keynotes and who knows? I'm raising my hand for way too much right now. I go, I want to do that. And I want to do that. And I want to volunteer for that. And my boss is starting to go, hey, hold on. Do you have enough bandwidth to do this? Sure, no problem. Because when you love doing something, it doesn't feel like work, right? This doesn't feel like work. Let's go ahead and do this. And then I get to the end of the week and go, I'm never doing this again. My voice is worn out. But it's like Christmas. 2 weeks later, I forget about it and I start looking forward to the next year. It happens every year. Every year. I don't know what's wrong with me, but it's a whole lot of fun. A lot of people can tell you about that. We also have, where were we? Events. We did knowledge. Workshop. I got a button for that. Oh, I got to update this one. We're doing studio next week. I'm sorry. My brain is totally twisted around on what day it is. This is the 4th. It's coming up on the 18th. We will be there. Craig Stepp will be walking you through Studio, our integrated development environment, or IDE, if you want to sound smart at cocktail parties and go, I'm using an IDE, and show you some things that you may or may not have already known. So Craig is going to be leading this one. I am going to be having a one-on-one with him to review his content this week. We're getting ready. This is going to be big stuff. And then in March, we're going to be talking about, what did I line up? The Now Platform CI/CD stuff that's coming out in Orlando. So we have some new features in Orlando that will be making their debut just a few days after general availability. So looking forward to that as well. Speaking of new stuff, I'll talk about it later. I don't need to do it while I'm hiding behind this slide. Go over and register. bit.ly/TN73reg is where you go to sign up for that. If I happen to write any code today, it will be stored off in a GitHub repo at this bit.ly link, sn-cls. You'll find a dated folder, 2020-02-04. Anybody notice that Sunday was a palindrome? I'm sure if you were watching the Super Bowl, they mentioned that. Or no, I think they mentioned it on the Waste Management Open. I posted it to Facebook in the morning, 2020-02-02. So you can go forwards or backwards. In a many formats. You could arrange it in year, month, day, month, year, whatever. Sorry, that's just a nerd thing I do. But these are in year, month, day format. So they sort properly and you'll find any scripts out there so that you can take them, experiment them, learn from them. That's how I did it back in 1982, 83, whatever it was, when I would take the book and when our documentation was on paper and I would type in the script or the program or the app, and then I would adjust it. Go, what if I change this value from 768 to 770? Does it still work? Does it change the behavior? Have fun with that. That's how you learn. You can do that on your personal developer instance at very little risk. If something does blow up in your face, you can always Z-boot it and start over, right? Okay, that's the script thing. If you are really, really new and you want to get started with ServiceNow apps, no-code apps for dummies, free, available at the bit.ly link you see there. ServiceNow-no-code apps for dummies is what that stands for. So you can download an e-copy of this, circulate it around your office. Pick one of these hard copies up. We will have these at Knowledge. So if you want me to sign one, I'd be happy to. It's not very long. And there is a video series that's going to go along with it. So if you want to know more about mobile or workspace or what have you, I will have short little videos on how to do that. And then you can watch the whole series and go, oh, wow, he built a whole app. That's what's being injected into the doc site is those videos. And we're figuring out where the best place to put some of those are because they kind of overlap with either existing content or multiple content pages. So who knows? You might hear my crazy voice on the docs page some more too. So, good morning, Andre. Good to see you. Shankar says, hey, Chuck, do you have any tips on how to modify the XML created by the admin? I don't want to write a background script, just looking for options. Give me a little more information on what you're trying to do. Is there a post on the community already you can steer me to? Because I don't really prefer to do the discussion this way, because otherwise you and I and this handful of people that are watching are the only people that see this. And in the future, 5-10 years from now, nobody's really got a record of it. It's not something they're going to scrub through the video to find. We are going to be able to search that out on the community much easier. So if we can, let's engage a discussion on the community that way about what you're looking to do. What's the goal? Why are you generating this XML? What do you want it to turn into? It could be something as simple as what I did yesterday with a sed script. I was migrating from one instance to the other and I had to change the scope. So I exported the XML, ran it through a sed script and re-imported it. It worked fine. So there's lots of solutions depending on what you're looking to do. Sed may not be for you. That sounds like a medical thing. Okay. If you were new to JavaScript, let me just give you one more quick plug about the JavaScript video series that came out in July of 2019. SN-Learn.js over at the bit.ly link you see there. Whole series of videos to get you started from everything from basic syntax to Boolean operators to looping constructs and objects. And at the end, you should be able to write yourself a scripted REST API. Ooh, that sounds pretty advanced. Well, when you break it down into its constituent components, you'll understand it. And you'll feel comfortable reading and maybe even modifying some JavaScript code, perhaps even starting some script of your own. That's what that series was for. Totally elective. Nobody paid me to do that one. Well, I guess they did if I was doing it on work hours, but that's the kind of thing that makes me happy. Learn, share, be helpful. That's what drives me. Let's get to the community, shall we? Let's see what's out there. I do have a follow-up. So before we get going, let's do a follow-up. If I didn't say hello to you already, thank you for watching. God, I think this is we've got a record-breaking audience for live. Pretty close. Imagine what would happen if we had a campaign around this thing. let's go to my personal developer instance. The last time I spoke with you, we were working on a custom action to trigger notifications. We were talking about different ways you can trigger notifications. And if I look under notifications, I was working on, I believe, one called something simple like CLS test. Come on, notifications. This thing always goes slowly when you're trying to do a demo. I did click that, did I not? Click, there it is. And I thought I had an updated, I don't have the updated column in here. Let's go to Studio. Maybe my notification's in there. And there is my CLS 528 app. You see weird app names like Santa? It's because I do a lot of demos and I run out of names. I go to the random word generator and say, I need a new scope name, and I can't think of anything today. So notifications, CLS incident test. Here is my notification, and I mentioned you can either do this via record update. So if it's inserted or updated, you can do it via event through the gs.event queue call, or you can do this when triggered. And we were trying to get our hands around the triggered, and right at the end, when the camera went off, I think Gaurav said, you're using the wrong step in your flow. So let's go to Flow Designer. I was doing an action for trigger notification. I do so love the way that Studio and Flow Designer work together. And I was making a custom action, and in here I had the wrong thing. I had email step. What I should have done, here's the big aha moment right as the cameras went off, is next to email step, where is it? Is notification. Trigger a notification. That's what I needed. Because in the documentation, it even said notification step, not email step. I said, these fields don't look right. It's saying you need record, and you're like, oh, duh. So it's one of those old man moments where you see what you want to see and you move on. And sometimes you got to stop and look around the screen. Are there other things on there that I haven't seen? Not just me. Morning, Carol. Is it just me, or is there only left audio channel? There is only left audio channel. I don't know what that's all about. I could check, but it's going to... Oh, that's disappointing. It looked like it was fine when I started. Hang on. Let me see if I can get one of these. It's my microphone. 1 second. I might be able to fix this real fast. You know what I can do? I'm going to haul in the other microphone. Doesn't look great on camera, but if it fixes the problem, let's see what happens. Check, check, check. There we are. How's that? Okay. Let's try to keep it out of the way of the text on the screen. So thank you for letting me know. Hopefully now your head isn't off balance going, I'm only hearing out of one ear. It's heavier. There we are. Okay, back to where we were going. Someone give me a thumbs up. It changed about 5 minutes ago. Something weird going on. There's always internet gremlins. It happens every time, every place. Always happens. It just happened to hit me now. So give me a thumbs up or something to confirm that we do have audio on both channels. I'm broadcasting both channels. Here we go. So notification step takes the trigger record. We can do that. The table, and then which notification you're going to use. Notice this one says, thank you for confirming, CLS send my notification. That is the notification. And it's only listing the notifications that say send when triggered. So we've got that. That works. Or is it only listing the ones that are... I'm not sure what the reference qualifier is on this one because you can't really see them the same way you can in a standard form. There we go. That's how you trigger the notification. And let's save that. And I can now take this out. Take this step out. Don't need that. Delete that step. This allows me to, A, manage all my notifications in one place. I like to keep all my notifications, whether they're generated from workflow, from Flow Designer, from script includes, wherever, in the notifications list. So keeping them all over here in Studio, or if you happen to prefer over in System Notifications, Notifications. They're all in one table. They're not scattered left, right, and center. So when somebody says, hey, can we change the wording on this message? You're going, where was that generated? You've got one central place to look for them. The other thing I like over what Flow Designer will let you do, if you drop in a notification from Flow Designer, and I look at this particular flow and say, let's do an action to send an email. You can't use the $curly brace stuff, so there's no variable substitution. You can drop in data pills, but if you want to give them a link back to the record, like $curly brace URI_ref curly brace, it doesn't work. I'm really sad, but it makes sense in Flow Designer context that you've got this, you've got the low coders who aren't really going to know about $curly brace stuff anyway. So yeah, you want to keep them away from the dangerous Cody looking stuff. So that's what that's all about. It makes me sad in some ways, but I understand it in other ways. So what we can do is, now that we've got this custom action, let's save that. I think I already saved it. No, not since and I can test it, even though it's not published, by going over here to configurations, saying show draft actions, turn that first one on. And now I should have, under actions, under CLS 528, trigger notification. And it's going to ask for simply the record. Which person record do you want to trigger? We can do that. Fingers crossed. Never done this before. Let's go ahead and test. Test on a person. We'll test it on me. I don't even remember what I put in the message, but we should see something a little evident of, hey, this thing actually ran. And if I go to the system mailboxes and check the outbox, there is one to Chuck, sample subject from action. That's what I put on there. Pretty sure. Or was that from before time? No, it's from right now. What's the other one say? Not much. So we've got that. Hooray. That's how you do triggered actions. It's the notification step in an action. Now, obviously, each one of those actions will be associated with a notification and a table. So those are very specific. They're not as generic as dropping in the send email or send notification action from the ServiceNow core section. So something to think about. You can write your own custom actions that trigger. It's effectively the same as a GS event queue for Flow Designer, if you like. Just no parameters, I guess. But nobody says you can't make one. If it's a custom action, you certainly could put those in there. I'm not sure how you'd pass them, though. That's a good question. Is there anything in this action? That's the flow test. Anything in the action that lets you could pass inputs. What could you do with those inputs here? Not much. Or could you pass them? I'm going to have to think about that. That's a good question. That's how we learn, right? We go, that's interesting. I wonder what if. Could we do this next? So that's a follow-up on what I had before. There was another follow-up. Fundamentals. ServiceNow Fundamentals is now, wrong page, is now available on demand. So you can get that. Let me get to the right tab. I do that a lot. I mean to switch tabs and I always switch apps. Go to Now Learning, the ServiceNow Fundamentals course. I think that used to be the old ServiceNow sysadmin course. It's available on demand and it's free. And there's a voucher that you get for free till March 31st. I was told that by one of our training directors yesterday. So I've got confirmation on that. I posted something on LinkedIn a few days ago and somebody said, hey, Chuck, what does this mean? So I dug in and got some details. Thank you for prompting me on that. So take a look at that. March 31st, 2020 is when you got to get everything done. And then it goes back to whatever regular pricing is. So good luck with that. If you're looking to get that first step in your certification going, and that is a prereq for a lot of things, certainly take a look at that. If you want more information about training, certainly engage the training group. I haven't been involved with that in a long time, so I apologize for not knowing more information. Let's continue on. There was another thing I wanted to follow up on. Somebody was creating an integration for Smartsheets. And I really didn't hear about Smartsheets until about 2 weeks ago when one of our helpers for knowledge started sending things along and saying, here's how we're organizing the conference floor or the expo floor. And I went, okay, Smartsheets, yet another online spreadsheet tool that should be an app in ServiceNow. But hey, I'm a little biased that way. If it were my company, we'd have the entire conference running on ServiceNow. But maybe someday. I'm going to dream big. They're writing an integration between Smartsheets, and they've got the integration where you create an incident or update an incident, and it goes and gets updated in Smartsheets. I don't know the whys or wheres or requirements behind any of that, but they got that working. It's a one-way integration. They said, now I want a two-way integration to go Smartsheets back to ServiceNow. Something's updated in Smartsheets. Maybe it's a priority. Maybe it's a name. Maybe it's a short description. Who knows? That they wanted to go back to ServiceNow. The key to that, and thank you very much to Harish Desari for saying this, is you need to understand is there a webhook capability to that? That's what other apps will use for their outbound integrations. This is available on a lot of them, not all of them, to say something changed, here's what you need to know. And it will send a JSON payload or an XML payload to your endpoint. So typically when you set up a webhook on another application, on a cloud-based service, it's almost like think of a scripted REST API in ServiceNow. I'm going to tell you when something happened. Actually, it's an outbound REST API from their end. So you need to know what endpoint to call. Your instance name will be in there, https yourinstance.servicenow.com/API/something, something, something. So you determine what it is. You could send this to a table API. You could send it to an import set API if you need to do transforms, that kind of thing. You could send it to a scripted REST API if you want to have total control over the inputs, the outputs, and the processing that goes on in there. So lots of options for how you receive this in the instance, but you need to have that capability called a webhook on that end. I did this with Todoist about a year and a half ago, I think it was. And I've got tasks in ServiceNow, and I use Todoist all the time on my mobile device, that actually on my desktop and mobile and everywhere else, to do my daily tasks, keep track of my projects. And I said, I'm not going to go to this one-off instance 3 times a day to run this one project. I want it all gathered in one place. So I wrote a Todoist integration. The outbound stuff was pretty easy. The API to post a task or create a project or get a list of projects was pretty straightforward. I still need to convert that to Flow Designer, but that's another day, another project for another day. The harder part was when you, say, check a task off in Todoist, say, it's done, how does ServiceNow know about that? Well, they have a webhook, and I said, when you update, send it back to this. And it's got all kinds of information in that JSON payload for the project task, the project ID, the state, what changed, all that good stuff. So it's going to vary from vendor to vendor what their webhook tells you. But then I receive that in a scripted REST API. Here comes the tricky part. If Todoist says this task was closed, and ServiceNow updates the record and says, oh, something's been updated, assuming a business rule goes, something's been updated, go tell Todoist, you're going to get in this loop of, you said something changed, I'll react to it. You said something changed, I'll react to it. And it can get kind of messy. The key to shutting that down was on ServiceNow, when you send your outbound request that something changed, the business rule uses a method called gs.isInteractive. It's part of the glide system family, and I am going to go find this. And isInteractive is in glide session. Thank you, new docs. And in here we have isInteractive. And it simply says, determines if the current session is interactive. If a human is working on a form, someone's logged in, it's an interactive session. So in the condition of that business rule, it would say, if gs.isInteractive, go do the outbound REST integration. Okay, send the message to Todoist or Smartsheets or whatever. If it's not, if the change came in through an API, scripted REST API, table API, whatever, and the table changed via that mechanism, then the business rule goes, whoa, that's not interactive. I'm not going to run this. I don't need to tell Todoist because Todoist just told me. We don't get into this round, cyclical problem. So that is a very, very useful method to determining, is something being done via a human at a keyboard or via a machine on the internet or some other automated process. It could be a background script. A background script is not interactive. So take a look at that. Take a look at that. What can flows do that workflows cannot? I have not taken a look at flows for some time now. Oh, Kevin, I highly encourage you to do so. What can flows do? They can run on a scheduled basis. They can process inbound emails. They can do a lot of things that workflows do. I don't think of them as the next gen of workflows, because a lot of people write their workflows as big monolithic things. And I think I talked about this on the last episode, maybe not. I look at them more as like business rules on super steroids. So without scripting, you can run a series of actions. Easier to build, easier to maintain, easier to document than business rules, because there's no script for those complex operations. That being said, you've got lots of actions. Integration Hub continues to grow in spokes. Orchestration does not. So if you're doing integrations, then obviously there's a value in looking at, hey, we're going to have like 200 spokes to different services in Integration Hub. It's a lot more extensible. Workflows, at some point, you're going to run into some script. Therefore, they're not exactly a low-code solution that low-code, no-coders can use. Your admins or your non-scripty types in your organization. Also, Flow Designer supports delegated development. If you're doing that and saying, hey, this one group is working on this one project, and here's their flows, great. Workflow doesn't support that because you're going to run into those complex operations that you can't say, well, you can do workflows, but you can't do script because there's really no boundary put into that architecture. It predates a lot of that scoped and delegated development capabilities. Flow Designer came after it, so it can take advantage of that in the design. So those are just a few of the highlights. If anybody else has one, certainly throw your ideas out there. I do like the fact that you can make custom actions, in my opinion, much easier than you could custom activities in workflow. I dabbled with custom activities in workflow, didn't really care for it too much. Custom actions give you that. The data pill picker, the panels, the way that you pass information in and out. It's more of a data bus kind of thing than good old Scratchpad. Scratchpad was a bit ad hoc and not very user-friendly in my opinion. What will happen if variable names of a record producer and field names of a target table are the same? It automatically implies that you're going to be putting that in a field. Oh, this is just live fire right now. Okay, let's go to Studio. And I don't think I have a record producer. Maybe I do on this one. Okay, add a new person to CLS 528. This has been a functionality for a long, long time. Back when I was a customer and you were creating variables, it was just the way you did it is under variables. If you had a variable, there wasn't even a checkbox. This is map to field. It would automatically map to a field. So let me do one of those if the variable thing ever comes up. There's currently a map to field which lets you pick this field name. And if you notice on the list of variables, it's called name. Now, in my person table, I'm going to map another one real quick. I have a person table, and I believe I was prompting for name and age. Yes, name and age. What's another field we can pick? We could pick order. Fine. So I am going to put another variable on this record producer called order. It's almost scary how easy I had that example sitting there waiting. And I'm not going to map it to a field, but I will call this a number or an integer. What is it called? Now do you get your hands on the right home row. Number? I don't want a numeric scale. That's a bit disappointing. Where's my... Do we not have a variable? This has driven me nuts since the early days, that our variables and field name types are not aligned at all. I don't know about you, but someone ought to come through here with a sledgehammer, but I'm sure that would break everything that people have done for the last 20 years or 15 years, whatever it's been. All right, for lack of imagination, I am going to do a single line text, and I'm going to call this order. It already gave me a name. We won't do a tooltip. The order of this variable would be 300, and we don't need to make it mandatory just to test this out. I have a new variable. It's not mapped to the order field. And I will show you what happens. Let's go to my catalog. Catalog, service catalog. I think I put that under Can We Help You, like I usually do for most of these where I don't know where it should go. And it should say create new person. Add a new person to CLS 528. That's us. Name, age, order. So there's the variable that I put in. We say Tom Taylor, order 999. Submit. I should get an error. Where's my order field? Order's not even on the form anymore. What happened? Let's put it on the form. Configure form layout. Kind of hard. Live demo. Don't know what's going to happen. And is order hidden? Order's not hidden. Do I not have an order field? Where did it go? Am I blind? Somebody seeing that I'm not seeing? Name, location, phone, age. Oh, you know what I think I did? I think I'm caught by an old demo. Watch this. If I go into Studio and under the person table, I'll bet order is not active. I think that was the one that I deactivated because we were having a discussion about active fields. Yep, the dictionary field was not active. Someone was saying, hey, what happened? How do I take this out of service without deleting the field? You deactivate it. And I was just caught by that. Okay. So the data should have got pumped in there because the field is still there. So let's reload the form. And the form layout has it. And of course, I have 999. So it was easy to map the string field to a number. Not sure what would happen if I put in some crazy string. It probably would have stripped it out and go, that's not a number. So there you are. You don't have to use the map to field. That makes it easier and avoids mistakes when you're typing. Maybe I typed order wrong and it wouldn't have mapped. It would have had a variable in a variable section somewhere in this record. So that's what happens if they match. If I wanted it to be something unique and I already had an order field, I would have called my variable name U_order or V_order. I think Stephen Bell advocates that to differentiate your variables from your fields. ServiceNow sledgehammers. Is that a band name? No, we already have a band name. It's called Z-Boot. Okay. Anybody know what the history of the Z-Boot name is? It's not the band. It came way before that. I'll give you a few seconds to answer. Why is it called Z-Boot rather than reboot or just boot or wipe or something of that nature? I'm going to have to make note of these. So we talked about live question, record producer variable names. We followed up on the notifications, and we did that. We talked about the fundamentals being and okay, so I think we're all caught up. Whew. Caught up just in time to do a deep dive. Have we gotten any questions on here? Something I learned, I like to share what I learned, that's why I do this, is on UI actions and related list. So let me show you what I was working on. I don't know if the same instance will support this demo, but we're going to find out. In the persons table, I thought I had a related list. Do not. Or do I? Configure related lists and work to person. Work was a task. And if I have a new here, and I think that creates a new task. Yeah, because I've got assigned to assignment group. Okay. Task 1. What I was looking to do is get back to my person table, person record. And what I wanted was a way to just drop in a button that says, go create me 8 template tasks. Okay, somewhere I have information about how those should be created. I'm not going to get into how that's done right now. I just used the existing list of tasks and said, this could be used. This is a reusable task. I'm going to use this. In my case, it was links. I'm going to use that all the time. Show you where this is manifested. So I'll show you the fully baked version, and then I'll show you how I got to that. So what I wanted was a way to make a template without making another field and a UI action on the form. I wanted a different approach. Different approach to put a list action at the top so that I could easily click the button. There's your 7 or 8 templated links. Now, this is in my list of episodes. You're going to get a sneak peek at the TechNow app again. I think I've showed this before. And on, let's go to 76. Down here in the episode links, I want a quick start button. So the button says, put in the links that I have as templates. Those are in this table, episode links, and it's got a link that I use for many of the shows. We've got a link to Knowledge Conference. We've got a link to the developer site, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So I added a field called reuse so that it says this one is going to be part of my quote unquote template. Rather than make another table with just 7 records or 8 records that keep getting in and out, no, forget it. I already know what they are. They're on the last show. Just copy them over. And if I adapt and update, I can just tweak them in this record. So if I show the matching records, I've got 6 for knowledge, documentation, works out like that. Now, if I go to episode 76, Paris Platform Features, which will be in July, and I want to easily drop in those links, here is my quick start button. And I click it, and bada boom, it has 6 records in here. Now the thing is gone because I've got records. I don't want to do it again or I'll have 12 and they'll be duplicates and then I'm messing around. So it's a little bit stupid proof. So here's what I did behind the scenes. The first thing, let me go and show you how I built this out and the mistakes that I ran into so that you don't run into them as well. Let's leave that at 125 for now. I am going to go to my work order table because it's on the related list. So on the work table, I'm going to create a new server UI action. Let's create a new UI action. And the first thing I had to figure out was what objects are available on a related list UI action. Do you get current? Do you get parent? How do you address this stuff? So I did a quick test and I said, test work. Put it on the work table. Probably easier if I find CLS 528 because there's only a handful of tables out there that have that in the table. I'll do this for show It's going to be a list banner button. You could put yours elsewhere. And of course, we'll just do a simple log statement that says GS info, test has run. And I wanted to know what objects are out there. So current could be current.getUniqueValue plus, let's do something like that, plus current, I just wanted to explore getDisplayValue. Get the right method in here. Did I get that right? I said, what is current? We'll even stay on the same form with an action.set redirect URL to current. Not uppercase. Sorry, I got a couple of band-aids on my fingers, which is making a little difficult to type. Let's find out what happens. It's a list banner action. It should now be on this. Leave that. And there's my banner action. I click it and it says, no records selected. Okay. Something to know about list UI actions is you typically have to select something, whether you want to do this from the menu or you want to do it from a button at the top, at the bottom, wherever. It's not going to go until you do that. Well, that's annoying because if I don't have any records in there and I want to create one, there's nothing to select. Here's the secret sauce behind that. I did this a long time ago and I had to go really searching through my notes to find it. The secret sauce to this is the action name field. If you call this sysverb underscore anything, don't use one of the new ones or one of the existing ones. Don't use insert. Don't use insert and update. Don't use update. Okay. Just give it something unique. Test work. Use your table name in there somewhere to ensure uniqueness. Then it won't prompt you for that record thing. Okay, that was step one. Okay, first I got to be able to get this thing to work. So refresh the form, go down here, click the button, and record not found. It's trying to redirect to current. So obviously it doesn't know what current is. If I pull up my system logs, all I get test run has run. There is a current sysid, but there's no display value. That sysid is coming from who knows. And if you look at the value of that, it ends with 96190B. If I do this again, it changes. So test the work, record not found, refresh, 961900, different sysid. Current is something dynamic, like it's doing a get unique value every time. So obviously current isn't correct. The answer here is to go to, we get back to studio. The answer is related lists know this is a parent. Okay. So we need to use parent in here, not current. And it will tell me all about this wonderful object and update that. Go ahead, that's my log. Let's go back to my person Tom. Click test work. It redirected, which is good. I go to the log and it says, here's your sysid. There's your display value. It now knows how to address the parent record. Given that information, if I've got the sysid, now I can create those related records with a while loop, with going and getting the information, that kind of things, to make that easier to build out that related list. So when dealing with related lists, now here's the other half of the equation. When dealing with related lists, always remember it's the parent to address that parent record. That's not normally available in UI actions. If you're just dealing with like a form UI action like save as draft. Save as draft doesn't know what parent is. It's probably not going to have a whole lot of cool values in it. Now, if I go to my CLS 528 application and go to works, guess what? I've got a test work here. What do you think it's going to do? Let's go look at the log. And it says, that's from the it says, I don't know what parent is. You asked me for a method on a null object. So I'm still working on this. How do you find out, are you on a related list or are you on a regular list? There is a way to determine that, and I'm going to find out and follow up with you, unless somebody in the chat knows. So throw that out there. I thought there was like, all right, let's go look. Let's see what we can find real quick. Like, is related list maybe? Who knows? We're going to search the API documentation. Is related list. Render properties, render properties. Could be an RP thing. Related list. Scoped rendered properties. True if the URL parameter sys is related list equals true. All right, let's go find out. What does that actually do for us? We're in uncharted waters again. Okay, how does that work? It's RP dot. Code example would have been really nice here. If the URL contains sys is related list is true. So I think it's just RP dot is related list. Let me say we try that out. So take out this part, which is causing it to crash. We won't even do that today. We'll just do gs.info is related list, related list equals rp dot is related list. I don't know what made me think of that. It just seemed like a logical method name. Save. Work. Reload. Test. And into the log, we get isRelatedList is false. That's good. That's one way to do it. Let's go get our Tom user again and click test that. And the log says isRelatedList is true. Well, that was easy. Okay, so now you know what to do. Right? In the UI action, you put in here, you only want to see this if it's a related list. Wow, that was easier than I'd expected. I don't know what made me think of that. I wouldn't have thought of the RP stuff first. Let's give it a try. So here's my Tom record. Reload. I have the action. Here's my work list. I do not have the action. Sweet! You can make context-sensitive UI actions based on what type of list they're on. That was neat. Thank you, Samir, for confirming that. You know what this makes me want to do? Look at what else is in the RP. We have get encoded query, which you could do with a glide record as well. Get list control returns the list control object for the page. And what's in the list control? What properties and parameters and whatnot are in the list control? Don't know. Get parameter value, name of the parameter passed in the URL. I tend to do a lot of these with the glide URI. I don't think about RP that much. I guess because I ran into problems with UI pages when you do that. So I sort of got away from RP. It was unreliable for me. Not saying it will be for you. Get referring URL. So a lot of this is with the, it has to do with what's on the URL. This is the rendered properties. The Windows get window properties. Again, give us an object. What's in there? In Dev Studio. Oh, I've seen this one used. Notice when you go in here, the UI actions aren't all the same. For example, if you say File, Settings on this application, wait for it, no related links down here. But if you go to the same record in sysapp.list, it's smart enough to say, oh, you're not in Dev Studio, therefore I'll give you these related links. So those have that in there. We also have is interactive. Interesting. I usually use gs.it is interactive. I just talked about that earlier. Is many to many. Oh, even cooler, a different kind of related list. So if I don't want that UI action on there, I could do that. Neat. Is related list. We just did that one. So the RP parameters, good stuff. If you want to get things off the URL that may be of value to you. We're getting close to the top of the hour. I can hear alerts and alarms going off. There was one other thing that I wanted to bring your way, and that was ArrayUtil. If you're not familiar with this, because it came up, somebody had asked, how can I create a list of unique values? I'm going to do this in VS Code and publish this one. So very simple example. I don't know if I did this as part of the JavaScript series, but let's say I have an array. Var list, it's my generic array name, and give it some values. I've got 5, 24, 43, 5, 7, 24, 18, 109, 5. Okay, you get the idea. And they said, I need to get just the unique values out of there. Well, here comes ArrayUtil to the rescue. And I'm going to instantiate it. It is a global scoped script include. Let me just tell you what that means. I go to system definition script includes and get ArrayUtil. Go in there. It is in the application global and it is available to all scopes. But, oh, it has been changed. I'm sorry. I thought it was this application scope only. It has been changed. This was changed several releases ago. I just forgot. And I think I'm confusing the table utils. That was a different one that I covered a couple weeks ago. So never mind. I'm a little confused this morning. It happens. Now, if I say var list2 equals au dot, what was it? Unique? This is something I recommend every once in a while. Go into some of these out-of-the-box script includes and get familiar with what's in here. Contains. I could say, does it contain a 5? And it'll go, oh, yes, it does. It'll return a true or a false. It's just going to iterate over those objects in the array to get that. Where is the first 5? You could say, get that. Ensure array. I apparently think this means it is an array. Concat, put 2 arrays together. Convert array from what to what? Oh, from a JavaScript, a Java array to a JavaScript array. You can tell because he's a.size, and I thought that's what's going to screw it up for using it in a scoped app, but apparently not. You can do a diff, you can do an intersect, find out where the 2 match. You can do a union, put them together, very similar, and there is unique right at the end. Removes duplicate items from an array, takes array A1 as a parameter, and it returns an array. So oddly enough, I will do unique list. Ta-da. Now, let's do a gs.info list2. It will automatically convert it to a string and put in the commas for me. So I should see 5, 24, 43, 7, 18, 109. 1, 2, what was that, about 8 values? Let's try that in scripts background. Pop that onto its own window. Run it, and away we go. And it says, undefined, maybe missing global qualifier. Haha, did you see where I ran that from? I ran that from the scope CLS 528. It goes, I don't have anything like that. That's in global, you silly boy. So we put global dot in there. Copy that back to my wonderful editor so I don't forget to post that back to GitHub. And there they are. They're not in the same order, because it did something somewhere. I think it just said, fine, I'll take the last one I see rather than the first one I see, which is kind of interesting. You think it would push them into an array? I guess it did. Maybe? I don't know. If you want them sorted, there is a sort algorithm you can do on that very easily. But that's the general concept, whether these are strings or sysids or whatever. Okay. I don't think you can do this on objects. I think it has to be a strictly simple data type. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Was I looking at that? Here. So it's going to say if A1 sub I equals A1. So they have to be the same type. If you haven't seen that triple equals before, it not only compares the value, but it compares the type. It says this one's a string and that one's a number. They don't match. No, that's not equal. Therefore, they are unique. There you go. So get comfortable with ArrayUtil. I am going to call that at the top of the hour. Thank you very much for joining me. And I look forward to talking to you again real soon on the next episode. Maybe we'll get into some more community questions next time. Till then, take care, go learn something, share it, and be helpful to others. And I will see you again real soon. Bye.